Welcome to WTF, Walk the Floors, All Things Hospitality Training. I caught you there, Stephanie. It almost happened, right? How is everyone doing today? This is Michele Kline with Kline Hospitality, Stephanie Leger with First Rate Hospitality. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I always try to smile when we first start for two reasons. Reason number one, every time, because we do this on YouTube too, and I feel like every time the frame that is posted, I look like I'm just either not in a good mood or so I purposely smile. And then on the other side, we teach people that they have to smile when they speak, especially those who are working on our telephones so that the guest has a better experience, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
And I
uh,
think also too, smiling's going to go with our topic as well. And what are we going to be talking about today, Michele?
see how you melt it all together? This is great. All right, we'll talk about the benefits of networking in hospitality, but it's really a series of tips that will help anyone in any industry. Networking is networking in the end, period.
I love talking about this topic because I am the social butterfly of hospitality networking, especially here in Miami. If there's a hospitality event, I am there.
So when you call Stephanie and she doesn't pick up, you just go online and find out which event she's attending that day and you just run into her. There you
I
go.
know. I
We
know.
just we just gave you the insight.
Exactly. I mean, to be honest, I know I have a few listeners here who I see around the networking circuits in Miami, and they have even admitted that they will go and look on LinkedIn to seeing what different hospitality networking events I'm promoting, to knowing really what's coming up. They utilize that more to knowing the different networking events. So definitely all around, there's an event in networking for hospitality, I'm there.
Lovely.
All right, so let's get in talking about that hospitality networking, and let's start off with the basics here. So, what is considered networking?
So I'm going to read the definition of networking, and the reason why I'm going to read it is because I don't know how to memorize things. There's something wired in my brain that doesn't allow me to memorize things. But then on the other hand, when I thought about this topic, all I could think of was all the things that networking is not. And maybe because it's on the WTF platform, but it's just all these things that networking is not. So I'm going to read what networking is defined as. It is the action or process of interacting with others to exchange information and develop professional or social contacts.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go to my side of the view, which is the negative side, which I didn't want to go there, but it's still worth it. Networking is not transactional. It should not be transactional.
Yep.
Bottom line, how many times do you go to an event and it's like, douche, douche, exchange of some sort of business card or, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
that drive you crazy, Stephanie?
Yes. No, absolutely. Especially too when they go right into sales mode. Let's build the relationship.
Yes. So much yes. One should never enter into an email or live conversation with a stranger expecting them to give you something just because you share a friend or a colleague or an affinity or an industry. That's not how it works. You got to build those relationships.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Here's
And I
the
think,
other thing. Yeah, go
yep.
for it.
No, go ahead.
I'm just getting excited here. So, the other thought that I had was that, different industries, different experiences, different ages, those are the things that will shape what your perception of networking might be.
Mm-hmm.
Because not every industry networks the same way. Not everyone has gone through the same experience. So if you've had bad experiences and you are told, oh, you're visiting Miami. Why don't you come join me at this event while you're here? And my experiences have been terrifying. My brain is directly going to go there, and I'm going to say, no, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
all of that shapes this. And also the age difference. Ages, as we go through time, we network in different ways because things
Hmm.
change and trends change.
Absolutely. And I think this is very important too, especially for our listeners that are vendors that deal with multiple industries, because the way networking and hospitality is done is very different than other industries. Say, if it was in finance or in law, that networking is very different than it is in hospitality.
Absolutely. It's not just the venue that is selected, the way it's being done, the activity that is going to be uh, provided for those attending, the attire that is required, the
Hmm.
type of drinks that you're going to serve. Are they going to be alcoholic, non alcoholic? Yes, 100%. I love that ad.
Yes. And all right, so now moving along, why is it important in hospitality that we network?
You said it, Stephanie. Networking is all about building strong connections. And I want you to
Hmm.
think about this. People on the other side, listen up. So much of your career progression hinges on your network to open some doors, to share opportunities, to put a spotlight on you, to drop your name in a room filled with people or decision makers right before they're looking for a solution, right?
Hmm.
And we need people to vouch for us. So they say, your 20s and your 30s are focused on becoming great at what you do. Well, the rest of your career is all about who you know.
Hmm.
It is true.
Absolutely.
And because we have so many emerging leaders that follow our podcast, it is important for you all out there to know, if you're in your 20s and your 30s, get started. Start
Yeah.
building your network. It does not matter if you don't have much to offer or if you think you don't have much to offer. Here's the thing: you have perspective from a person from your age to offer. And
Yep.
then you're going to get to understand how all these people think, how they make decisions, what it is that they measure, how they strategize. All of that comes from building those relationships through networking. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yes, totally. And especially too how you pointed out, of start young, or also too if you're just beginning your career in hospitality, no matter what your age is, get out there and get connected and build those relationships, because you never know from 3 months from now, a year, 5 years from now, where that connection could help either you both, or also too, if you're in a situation where you're needing to, a certain type of vendor or a certain type of expertise, and you're like, oh my gosh, I remember so and so, and let me reach out to them and see if they're able to provide us, whether it be their product, service, or assistance. But yeah, I think also too, it's important in hospitality for networking to realize that, look, things aren't going to happen overnight. It could, like I mentioned, could be down the road, and you never know when all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, yes, there was a reason why I met that person.
Yes, absolutely. Totally. Start early. Think about not going around passing out cards. Be strategic about it.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And then, moving along is, how can we excel at networking in the hospitality industry? How can we making sure we're just not the mediocre, okay, we went to the event, I had to because my company was sponsoring it. But, really, how can we make it to the next level and excel?
And make it meaningful.
Yeah.
Yes. So I can give you a full plan on what the steps look like, of based on trial and error, based on research as well. So for that, I'm gonna put a pin on that. The offer is on the table. Feel free to reach out to me via LinkedIn, and we can take a deeper dive into this, but let me give you just a few tips for lack of time. So very often we focus our networking within our very immediate accessible circle of either the people that we know through our job or our peers or team members, right? And maybe one level up, if we are super strategic or if we are very courageous, right? We'll go one level up. But typically, it's wherever we are, same tier and those below us. And
Mm-hmm.
we stick within the job.
Mm-hmm.
So this is important. You still have to do that. But that should only be 20% of your networking effort. And why do I say this? 20% because you want to keep those relationships going, and that requires time. And that requires being in a different setting, and that requires performing a different activity. But then 80% of your time, focus on understanding that networking is all about the net. How big is your net? Think about it that way. If you're a visual person, to really build a network that can work for you now and that can work for you later, or when you're looking for a job, or when you want to sell a specific product or a new solution, or you need to hire someone, or you need someone to mentor you, you need to cast a net that is as wide as it can be. That's why 80% is what should go to this site, where it's
Mm-hmm.
outside of what we know, outside of what that circle, that immediate circle. What do you think, Stephanie?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. And I think also too of just, with planning is, there's so many people that are like, oh, you're such a natural at networking and socializing. But then also too, there's a lot of planning of, strategic of being, okay, how can I build this relationship with this particular group or individual, and what could be some of my go-to conversation starters, to really making sure of engaging, and how you even mentioned also too earlier is meaningful in this, instead of just being like, oh, I'm just going to ask you a softball question and then we go for another one, and then and then the conversation just dies out. But how can we really making it impactful, and nurturing that foundation and building that relationship.
Yeah, and you hit on a very important topic, which is for anyone who's an extrovert, networking may seem like it comes natural.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you're being very strategic about it. Yet you're planning, who do I want to meet? How many people are going to be there? I have two events that are conflicting. Which one do I choose? Right? The one that has the most amount of people that I end up hanging out with, the 5 people that I know, or the one that has the specific right people that I need to meet right now. So
Yep.
over a number of years, both of us have been and have joined and participated many business events. At this point, I think they're
Mm-hmm.
countless. The fact that it comes natural to some doesn't mean that you may be an introvert. I'm an absolute introvert myself, but I have learned throughout those years and throughout participating in so many events that is so critical that I go, that is so critical that I'm there, that I get to know
Mm-hmm.
more people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I always think about 4 golden rules, right? One being um, pushing past the fear of feeling awkward. No one was born with that great network or those labels under you. You're a great networker. Guess what? Yes, you may be an extrovert, so it's going to be less difficult for you, but it still can be awkward, right?
Yep.
So pushing past that fear of feeling like, well, what are people going to think, or what are people going to say? Get past that.
Yep.
Check that at the door. Walk in with confidence. You got this.
Exactly.
Second of my golden rules, I would say, be open to connecting with people that are different than you. Don't
Yeah.
always default in connecting with the people that think and feel and dress like you. because you're not growing and your network is not growing. You want to learn from networking. It's not just about closing deals. It's not just about finding your next promotion. It's not just about finding your next uh, person that you can put, your next hire, your next talent, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
about learning new things. It's about learning trends. It's about learning. So if we are not open to connecting with those that are not traditionally like us, then you're gonna miss out.
Absolutely.
The other golden nugget is being prepared. You talked about this planning. You mentioned planning. Absolutely, 100%. Be
Yep.
prepared. What is the purpose of you going to this event? What is it that you want to achieve? Who is it that you want to meet? Out of everyone who's going to be there, if you can only make time to meet with two, who are those top two people? And
Mm-hmm.
why? Why? Think about the why. And then lastly, I want to say continue the cycle of giving. This is critical to networking, especially, most especially for the way we network today, for the way we see networking today. So for our more senior, more tenured, that audience with more wisdom, this is one area that you want to hone into and one area that you want to start exploring and doing differently. The cycle of giving. I don't
Yes.
come in and just pitch, give you my card, walk away, never reply back, never send you a note. We don't do that. How can I be a benefit to you before I even present my ask?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think also too, on that last golden rule, is we're at the event, we've networked, and we're like, okay, the conversation's going good. We're starting to build that relationship, and now the event has ended, and then nothing happens. And then it'll be like, all right, maybe I sent a request on LinkedIn or sent that follow up email, and then nothing after that happens. And I think I suggest is also too is just putting those little calendar reminders. Okay, it's been 30 days since that networking event. What's something that you can be able to follow up, or giving them some information, maybe about another upcoming networking event that you're going to, or a news article that you saw that was related to their service that they provide, or even their hotel, and being able to follow up that way, to now also to keeping the conversation going without being intrusive.
Yeah, absolutely. And here's the thing, you never know who you're going to meet.
Yes.
Many times you don't have access to the list of attendees and you can kind of have an idea of what that looks like. So go out of your way to try to understand who's going to be in the room. And if you don't have access to that, walk around, do one quick walk around first to get your bearings, to get to know, what companies are in here, who is here, who are decision makers, depending on the purpose and the why that took you to that event. Understand who's in the room.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So, anything else about networking before we get to our WTF
I
moments?
would say let's go into the WTF moment because I feel like I teed myself off. I just did that to myself. All right. So here's the thing. Going back to my comment on you never know who you're going to meet. I was invited to a conference. I'm not going to say which one, to speak at a conference for catered or tailored for young women in leadership. And it was amazing. It was epic. The right people were in the room. There were incredible panelists from every industry possible, decision makers. We had just people who were genuinely there. It was all women. So just women that were genuinely there for building those young women leaders, right?
Mhm.
And I was super stoked. I was excited about being there. I was excited about the session where I had to present and I was going to be able to share my knowledge and my passion for DEI with all these girls, and it was awesome. And the same way that I have all this energy into being ready for my presentation, I realized that there's all these people in the room, that this is a great opportunity. But how do I, with having all that energy into the presentation, how do I spare some of that for networking? Because as an introvert, it takes a lot of
Of
energy,
course.
right, to do it. So I found an interesting way, and I don't know if it was really intentional or if it just happened because I've been training my brain to do these things, to be intentional about networking. And one of the presenters comes off the stage, and her closing was really amazing, and it touched my heart and it made me cry. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You're amazing. Who are you? Right? I need to meet you after this at some point. And I thought of that. Like, this is a moment, although we are not networking, we kind of are. So I turned to her. She happened to be sitting right by me at the table. And I said, that was incredible. Like, leadership is all about touching people's hearts. And
Mhm.
you just did, not only to these girls, but I'm a 40-something-year-old woman.
Mhm.
And here I am crying after everything I heard you say. So thank you for that. And Stephanie, I can tell you that whether it was intentional or unintentional, or I have trained my brain to act that way in networking situations, that moment where I stepped it up and I was able to find a little bit of confidence and of less fear of going out there and taking some of my energy that was reserved and put into my presentation into having a connection with that person, led to a friendship, led to business, led to future opportunities when it comes to sharing our contacts when it's all about speaking engagements. So you never know when this is going to happen. So, like you said, when you plan, when you become intentional, you're able to really train your brain, your body on how to act when the opportunity is in front of you. So
Absolutely.
it's not a WTF on the negative side, but it's more of a wow moment of, I have been, after so many years of training myself on how to do this now came naturally, and it was totally organic.
I love
So
it.
it can happen.
Absolutely. I think also too, like, yeah, how you talk about those moments where you're like, I don't know if it was intentional or not intentional. And it's just like all of a sudden, like the radar goes on, and then it's like, okay, things are flowing, and this relationship is building, and coming more from the heart than actually thinking about it and what you're going to say.
Yes, so much
Yeah.
yes. Yep.
I mean, my WTF is that sticker of a name badge that ends up always getting stuck in your
Oh, my
hair.
hair. It's terrible. We gotta stop doing that.
Oh, I now I wear a magnetic, my own business,
Name tag.
name tag, and I
Yep.
put the sticker on, like, my purse because I know that'll be easier to, peel off, so they know that, like, yes, I'm part of, the event, but yeah, that sticker, who knows where that ends up by the end of the night, and then you see the other ladies, and then it ends up being a conversation because you're trying to be nice and telling them that, "Oh, where's your sticker?" It's up in the
So there
hair.
you go. It's a good. Maybe we have to consider keeping the stickers. It's a great icebreaker.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, final
Oh,
nugget. Are you ready for
yes,
this?
yes,
It is never too early to start building that network that will really propel you forward. Keep this in mind,
yes,
regardless of where you are in your career. You're
yes.
a
I love it.
senior vendor of a hotel. don't go up to the hotelier and want to sell them. Build those relationships. It's never too early to start or never too late to start building that network and really
Absolutely.
understanding what networking looks like today. So, relationship building is a skill that needs to be honed in. The sooner you start developing the skill, the more naturally it's going to come to you. And then the quicker you realize that there are areas of opportunities in the way you've been networking for the last 40 years, and the sooner you take action, the more and more you're going to build those relationships that matter most. So that's my final nugget.
I love it. Thank you so much, Michelle, for sharing some insights on networking. And I think this really helps us too with a lot of our listeners that are the emerging leaders, to get building that confidence and going out there, networking and building those relationships.
Super. I hope you love it and find it enlightening. Thank you so much for being on the other side. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.